He is the host of the Noble and Roosh Show by Ballislife. We welcome Roosh Williams to the podcast. How you doing, Roosh?
I'm doing well, man. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here and talk a little Rockets and some NBA.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much for joining us. And it's going to be a bit of a home game because I'll tell you right off the bat, I'm a Rockets fan as well. So definitely excited to chat some Rockets with you. And I guess let's start there. Been a very eventful year and a half, really, for the Rockets. Wanted to get your thoughts on this offseason so far. I mean, there's been a lot of news, of course, about the Rockets in the draft, the Rockets at Summer League. How are you feeling about Rafael Stone so far after seeing what has transpired this offseason?
I feel really good, to be honest. And I was a fan of Daryl Morey, but in conjunction with the job Rafael Stone has done, I think we should also look at Philadelphia to see the missteps that I think Morey has taken with the whole Ben Simmons thing. I think they're fumbling that pretty bad. As again, Daryl Morey is in the headlines with the mismanagement or whatever, the turmoil of a star that wants out, right? So that's step one. Step two, I really love Stone's approach. I mean, they drafted 4 rookies. I'm really not that high on Josh Christopher. I know a lot of Rockets fans are. I think he's going to take a while to pan out if he does. So maybe I'm wrong on that. But I love Garuba, Şengün, obviously Jalen Green. And I just love the overall approach that Stone has taken, using none of the assets from the Harden trade, using honestly probably two of the weaker assets that the Rockets had with the Washington Wizards pick from the Westbrook John Wall trade, and then the Detroit Pistons pick from the Christian Wood and Robert Covington. I think it was a 3-way, whatever, when they did that before last season started. So those 2 picks had no guarantees of conveying. I think they're supposed to both convey like around mid to first. They were heavily protected, and it was likely that they wouldn't even convey for another 3, 4, maybe more years. And Stone flipped those to go grab Şengün, who, if he pans out the way that we've been thinking, I mean, he might be something serious, right? So I love the approach in trying to collect a bunch of young talent. Everyone they drafted, I think, is 19 years old. All of them, except for Josh Christopher, have professional playing experience. 2 of them, obviously, international. So, I mean, I love it. And then in the offseason, they re-signed David Nwaba for, I think, a very fair deal, which honestly was surprising because if I was David Nwaba, I would have possibly gone to a contender. And then Daniel Tice, they used, I think they used the trade exception from one of the previous trades. I think from the Harden trade, actually.
Yeah, I believe so.
To absorb Daniel Tice. So I think will be a good fit next to Christian Wood and is kind of the type of player that the Rockets didn't really have last season, right? I wouldn't call him a bruiser, but he's supposed to play that kind of the bigger role, do the dirty work. He's only 6'8", but supposed to be the big man that gets busy, gets dirty, guards the other team's, big guy. So Christian Wood doesn't have to, boxes out, rebounds, all that kind of stuff. So far, man, I like it. I like it a lot.
Awesome. Do you see it as kind of a function of they just needed a new face in management, like Morey had just kind of had his time? He certainly gets a lot of props, has been held in high regard around the league. Do you think it's more they just needed a fresh start, or do you think the methodology would have been different under Morey as well this offseason?
We haven't really seen Daryl Morey rebuild from the ground up. So I think it's safe to say that I think the answer to both questions is yes. They did need a fresh start because they needed to totally hit reset, right? They went all in on Harden to the extent that they traded Capella and pretty much drained themselves of their own assets in the Russell Westbrook Chris Paul trade, right? So from that perspective, they had nothing left for Morey to even work with. His expertise, or what he's good at, is kind of the wizardry of flipping picks and kind of extracting value when there isn't much to be extracted. And then number 2, would the methodology have been different? I think so. I think Morey's methodology has kind of run tired. And he had a really good thing going for a while, but I don't know. It just kind of seems like people around the league are wary of Daryl Morey, and like the whole analytics thing has kind of hit the ceiling and is like almost on the way down. That's not commentary on whether it's right or wrong, but it just feels like that's how it is and how it's viewed. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a function of both. I think that Stone's approach is that he understands how to identify legitimate basketball talent, right? And he finds kind of gems. Jayshawn Tate, Sterling Brown, I thought was a great signing, even though he's gone. David Nwaba, Stone had a hand in that. I know he was signed under Morey, but I think Stone had a big hand in scouting him and bringing him over. Obviously, all of the draft picks, taking the gamble. I wouldn't call it a gamble, but making the move for Christian Wood, all these kinds of things. More so a hooper, right? Like he just sees, and Rafael Stone did play basketball, I think, in college at like a D2 or D3 school. So he just sees the game from that perspective, and Morey sees it, as we all know, more like black and white numbers, database, that kind of thing. And Daryl Morey's draft picks never really hit. I think Clint Capella was his best draft pick, who's a pretty damn good player, but there were a lot of misses in the Morey era. Most famously that year, I think that the Rockets had 3 or 4 picks, and they took Terrence Jones. I forgot his name. Royce White. Royce White.
I believe that's yeah. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, from that perspective, I don't think Morey's methodology would have resulted in a successful rebuild. I think that just a total guess, but I think that played into Morey's calculus of getting out of town. I think he saw the writing on the wall and was like, I'm not built for this. So I think it all kind of fits into place, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that whole like small ball move towards the end of that last season he was around kind of smelled of desperation. Kind of switching topics a little bit. One thing that I think most Rocket fans are most excited to see is, of course, the progression of Jalen Green. Can he contend for Rookie of the Year this upcoming year? What were your thoughts just watching him over the course of Summer League? He definitely... So I'll take the L on this, but before the draft and before Summer League, I was kind of advocating for drafting Mobley. And of course, there's time that's going to play into this. We're going to need to see their careers develop, obviously. But man, seeing his first game in Summer League, he just popped, and it's like, oh, okay, I get this. I may have to take the L here. What were your thoughts watching him in Summer League, and what can we expect from him this season in terms of playing time and development?
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people. I know Rockets Twitter was split between Evan Mobley and Jalen Green, obviously, right? I think Mobley has a ton of potential, like you kind of indicated, to down the line develop into something. In the Summer League, he showed flashes of kind of being that like stretch big that everyone envisions him being. I think his main value is going to be on defense, and then hopefully, for his own sake, he'll eventually develop the offensive prowess. But that's why, I was Team Jalen Green, and the reason is kind of what you just said. He's ready to go. He just looks ready to go from day one. His fluidity on the court, I think, is second to none. His skill set is immediately translatable. Is that a word? I don't know. But it immediately translates into the NBA. His shot is incredibly smooth. The release is pretty quick. The footwork is there. The athleticism, top notch. The only thing that we had question marks about, we meaning the collective people, fans in general, were defensive ability and playmaking as like a primary guard. Most people slotted him as like a 2, like a Bradley Beal, Zach LaVine kind of player. And he showed, I think he can immediately become that. I could see him immediately dropping 17 a game if he's given the chance, if not more, depending on how often he gets the ball. And he was incredibly efficient in the Summer League. And he was efficient in the G League. I think a lot of people forget that. He kind of got tabbed as like a gunner, I think. But his TS percentage, if I'm not mistaken, was I think 61% in the G League, which is incredibly impressive. And he shot, I think, 36% from 3 on 6 attempts per game. But we saw in the Summer League, he's able to create off the pick and roll. He had a couple plays, 2 that come to mind specifically. I don't know if you remember, but there was one off the pick and roll where he gets the pick, gets into the second layer, and then he did like an underhanded, one-handed scoop pass to Şengün for a bucket. And then he also got a pick and roll on the right side of the court on the perimeter. And then both defenders converged on him, and he slipped like a pocket bounce pass to the roller, who I think was KJ Martin, who I think then dunked on Evan Mobley. I might be wrong about that. But so we saw the flashes. Like, he just looks like a natural, And I think that's the biggest thing to be excited about with Jalen Green is like the game comes to him. With Evan Mobley, he might be a star. I'm not saying he's not, but the game's not immediately going to come to him. There will be some awkward phases, and he's going to have to feel his fit around. Jalen Green's the kind of guy, man, you can just put him out there, run a screen for him, get him open, catch, shoot, boom. We saw that. I forget his final numbers in the summer league, but he was extremely efficient, like I mentioned. So, you put that, and it's funny because it's a contrast from Harden, right? James Harden was very on ball, very deliberate, almost lulled people to sleep, and then made his move. Sometimes to the frustration of the fans, where it's just kind of like, do something, dude. Like stop stepping back, right? Jalen Green is just a jolt of energy, like a lightning bolt. He just gets the ball, he goes. When he doesn't have the ball, he's moving. It's just hard to track. So all of that's translatable. Development. Like I said, dude, he's coming right into the league, ready to go. I think the development is going to come again in terms of creating off the pick and roll. He's going to have some struggles. We're going to see him mess that up. We're going to see nights where he goes like, 4 of 17, and the shot's just not there. So that stuff's going to happen. But like I said, he's proven that he's efficient, so I expect him to be efficient. I think it's going to be more so a function and a matter of who he's playing with. We don't really know what the lineups are like. So you asked about minutes. That's the mystery to me, honestly. I predict the starting lineup will be Daniel Tice, Christian Wood, Kevin Porter Jr. kind of awkwardly at the 3, Jalen Green at the 2, and John Wall at the 1. I just see no way John Wall's on the bench. I see no way that Kevin Porter Jr. is on the bench because they kind of gave him the keys last season when Wall was hurt and out. And obviously he was, had the 50-point game, kind of earned his spot there. Mm-hmm. And then I don't see how you bench Jalen Green either, because he's your number 1 draft pick. You want to develop him, and he's, I think, immediately the best 2 guard on the roster. So maybe you could argue Eric Gordon, but so yeah, I think he'll get good minutes. I think that they're going to prioritize developing him. And I think it'll just naturally happen. The only thing that could muck it up is the lineups, but I just got a weird feeling that they're going to be kind of good. Not good, but not as awful as we grew accustomed to this last season.
That's perfect. That's exactly where I was going to take you with the next question is, I know it's early. I know the draft picks were all 4 of them, 19 years old. It's a young team. Do you think there's a shot the Rockets can contend for that play-in tournament, or is that a little bit too much too soon to expect?
I think the answer is yes and yes. So
answer.
You just got to be logical, right? That's what I try to do. I don't know.
Right.
Logically speaking, San Antonio most likely will stink. I think they were 33 and 39. I don't remember their record, but I think they were definitely under 500 last season, and that's with DeMar DeRozan. And they no longer have DeMar DeRozan. They simply don't have like good talent, in my opinion. They don't have bad talent, but they just don't have as much talent as the Rockets have, quite frankly. They re-signed Bryn Forbes. They still got Dejounte Murray. I don't know, Lonnie Walker. I think Derek White.
You got that Australian center. I can't remember his name, but
what, Jakob
no, guy who was on the Olympic teams. I can't remember his name. I think started with an L.
That guy.
There you go.
So I just don't think they have enough talent, as much talent as the Rockets. So that's one team that they could finish ahead of. Oklahoma City, same thing. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, maybe Josh Giddey, if he comes in ready. We really didn't get a chance to see him play because he got hurt. And then I don't know, Lou Dort, their talent doesn't match up to the Rockets. And they're obviously, I think, intentionally trying to tank, which we can touch on. I'm not sure if the Rockets are. A lot of people want them to, but I'm not so sold that they want to tank this season. So Thunder want to tank. So there's 2 teams. I'm going off the top of my head. If you could give me who are the bottom teams?
Timberwolves.
The Timberwolves could have a decent season. They traded for Pat Beverly, who I think will fit pretty well. They get another year, or they get a full year of Chris Finch. They get another year of Anthony Edwards. So they might have what it takes to kind of start piecing things together. No guarantee that they will, but they could also very well be worse than the Rockets. You could argue that the Rockets have better talent than the Timberwolves. So that's 3. Yes. The Pelicans are my 5th team. Who's the 4th?
Sacramento, potentially. They're always in the conversation.
Yes, so the Kings, right? And the Kings. And I don't think they have more talent than the Rockets. De'Aaron Fox is obviously a very, very good player. Did Buddy Hield get traded? Is Buddy Hield still there?
Still there. Still there to my recollection. Yeah, potential Ben Simmons team, but who knows where that's going.
Right. And if they do that, we'll see how that fits. But so Sacramento's another team, right? I don't think that there's a strong argument to say that they have more talent than the Rockets. So there's 4 teams right there. And then the Pelicans should be better than the Rockets, but they also might not be much better than the Rockets. They're also, not to be negative, but they are a Zion injury or a Zion like tweaked hamstring, which his body type could get hurt. And if Zion gets hurt, they're definitely going to be worse than the Rockets, right? So there you go. Now, if New Orleans is better than the Rockets, I think there's a strong argument to be made that Houston could be the 11th seed, and by virtue of that is thus battling for a play-in spot. So I think that's all fair. The Rockets were 11-10 through the first 21 games of the season. I think there were 7 games with Harden, if I'm not mistaken. So 3-4, maybe 3-5. I could be wrong about that, but
I think
under 500,
right, yeah.
Under 500 with Harden, 11-10, including that through the first 21 games. John Wall missed several games. Christian Wood missed a couple games, and then he got hurt, and everything changed. And that 11-10 record is not including Kevin Porter Jr., Kelly Olynyk, and then obviously Jalen Green. Eric Gordon got hurt for a long time. No Alperen Şengün, no Daniel Tice to kind of complement Wood. All these different pieces. So, and then John Wall had a bad season, was not efficient, but I think that was largely a function of him doing too much and simply outplaying his capability. He's not like a number one guy that's going to go out there and drop 20, 25, 30 a night on efficient numbers. He's the kind of guy that at his best, not at his individual best, but at his best with respect to how he's valued for a team, he's going to give you like 18-8, or 18-9 or 17-10, something like that, and have people scoring around him. And now he does, So I think Eric Gordon coming back, TBD as to whether he'll get traded or not. I think they're trying to trade him, but we'll see. And then depending on how the other pieces fit, right? Does KPJ take a leap? Does he take a leap as a scorer and a shooter, and he fits in there so that John Wall makes sense as the one, and there's no kind of awkward battle between the two? Does Jalen Green plug right in? Is Eric Gordon healthy and on the team? Another year of Jayshawn Tate. Is Christian Wood healthy? Does Daniel Tice's value actually kind of play out on the court? And, he is the piece that kind of keeps things slightly glued together. So if all those things happen, I think they're definitely better than what people think. A lot of people that don't really follow the team don't understand that they were playing, like 60% of a G League roster, really. They had guys it was a revolving door of randoms who were coming in trying to earn contracts. Kyrie Thomas, Armani Brooks, those guys stuck around. I think Cam Thomas, just like a whole list of names that I can't even remember because those guys aren't in the league. And people forget that. John Wall missed a ton of games. Christian Wood, Eric Gordon, probably 3 of their better players. So, and then you obviously get another year of KJ Martin as well. So, yeah, that's a really long way of answering to say that I think they're going to be better than people think. And I think they could be good enough to kind of hover maybe not too deep under 500. And if they really click, they could maybe be around 500.